You are listening to From Ring to Veil.
I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kim.
And we are your wedding planning gurus.
We take the stress out
and put the fun back into wedding planning. Invitations, what you need to know. Episode number 156.
We're back from our break. Kids are back in school. Time to get down and dirty with our wedding planning podcast. We're talking invitations this time.
I don't think we've talked about invitations yet.
Yes, we have.
We have? Oh yeah, we had an interview or a guest host.
Yeah, Ginger joined us, and that was really fun. But this time, we wanted to get a bit more detailed. We're sharing with you the ins and outs of your wedding invitation suite, the whole thing, not just the invitation.
Right.
But before we get into that, I want to ask you guys, can you pause and subscribe to the show? And maybe even take a screenshot and share that out and let your friends know that there is a wedding planning podcast that you love and you listen to and you want more people to love and listen to. Thank you. We'd appreciate that so much. All right. Let's get to save the date cards.
So save the date cards are, you can send them or you don't need to send them. They're kind of an extra little ditty. Some people like to take their engagement photos, and put them on the save the date cards. So why should you send them?
It gives your guests a chance to schedule time off and make plans and, see if they can get a flight or whatever. It lets people know, hey, we're getting married. We want you to come. Here's a date. Make plans.
Right. And when should you send them?
Well, from what we can find, the authorities that be say 6 to 8 months prior to your wedding date. And I think that's a pretty good time, only because of the travel plan things.
Right.
If they need to find a place to stay, if they need to find a flight, they got plenty of time to do that.
Usually there's Southwest will have a sale in there somewhere and you can get really nice flights. So,
yeah.
You should send them to anyone that you are anticipating coming to the wedding. Like, if you really know that they're coming, you send them a save the date card. If you have like distant relatives that you send the invitation to just to make sure that they know you're getting married and you know they're not really coming, I wouldn't waste your ink on them.
People you really, really want there and really think that will come. Exactly. Yeah. Is it okay to send electronic save the dates?
Yes, it is. If you are struggling with budget, sending the save the date electronically is just fine. It saves on stamps and paper good costs.
Right. And usually, wherever you're getting your invitation, wherever you decided to do that, they most likely will offer save the dates. Sometimes they give you a discount on them. Sometimes it's part of the whole suite. It just depends on which way you're going to go. We talked to the people of Greenvelope before, and that's from ringtoveil.com/11, show number 11. And they had everything from save the dates to thank you. So it would be easy peasy just to send it from there.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about the actual invitation.
Get your notes ready.
So invitations should be sent out 6 to 8 weeks before the wedding date.
And that's what? 2 months to...
Yes, 2 months before. At least...
Okay.
Yeah, at least 2 months before. Or a month and a half before.
Yeah, a month and a half to 2 months. That's what I was saying. Yeah, math.
Yeah, math. We suck at math. So
some of the main key details that you have to have on them. This is not an option. These things have to go on them. Number 1, the time. Number 2, the date.
Number 3, the ceremony location. And number 4, the reception location. That is, if that's separate from, if you're not having them together, you need both of them on this invitation.
Also, if you're not having a reception that night, it needs to be told because most people expect it to be a ceremony and reception.
Right. If the invitation is the only thing that you are sending them, then include this on the invitation as well. the type of dress, whether it's casual, cocktail, or black tie, food choices if you're having a sit-down dinner, and if you have a wedding website, you can put all of this information on there. So you need to put your wedding website information on this invite.
Which I think, or we even think, that is almost a necessity nowadays, is a wedding website. Because you can put anything and everything on there, and anybody can pull it up at any time.
Right.
So if they don't have the invitation with them, they can just pull up their phone, because most people have a smartphone at this time. They can pull it up and they can find all the information right there. It's just even maps can go on there. So I mean, it's I think it's almost a necessity nowadays. And you can find them like on Minted. They do free wedding websites if you're buying your invitations with them.
Yes.
And if you are, make sure that you go to fromringtoveil.com/minted. Use the promo code ENGAGE and you'll get 25% off of those save the dates. You can get your whole suite through them.
Plus that free wedding website. They have custom invitations from individual artists. They have already set up invitations where you can just go and pick the design out. You can get everything in your invitation suite at minted.com.
That's from ringtoveil.com/minted, promo code ENGAGED. There'll be a link in the show notes for you. If you're on your phone, click on the show notes. There should be a link right there. You can touch and browse everything. Or even on the website, go to fromringtoveil.com/156. It'll be right there in the show notes.
So now we're on to the invitation suite. The invitation suite includes a reception card, a direction card, an RSVP or a response card, an accommodation card, an inner envelope, and an outer envelope.
That's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff in an invitation suite that goes out with your invitation if you decide to do this formally like this.
The reception card is not needed if it fits all on the invitation itself or on the RSVP card.
Right. This is a card explaining what kind of reception it will be. Etiquette requires some formality with this. If the reception is before 1 p.m., the card should say breakfast reception. If it's after 1 p.m., it's just reception. If it's after 5 p.m., it's a sit-down dinner, put sit-down dinner reception. So, I mean, that's kind of formal to me.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you should say if it's not a formal sit-down dinner, you can just put reception, or if you are having a brunch or a breakfast or something, just let people know what. I don't think you have to be rigorous with if it's before 1 p.m. and you might have a breakfast, you might have a brunch in the evening. You never know. However you want to do it, but just kind of let them know if they're going to be formally sat and had a 5-course meal. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'd kind of put that in there.
So the next is a direction card, which may or may not be needed if the address is easily found through GPS. Mm-hmm. Most people have GPSs on their phone now, or they have one in a car. So, that's up to your discretion. This is also something that you can put on your wedding website. Mm-hmm. This card needs to be in a font that's easily readable. Not a lot of flourishes. It needs to be in a clean line, block type font so they don't get the address wrong.
That's right. And I would also even put on that the wedding website address just for further verification of this is where you can go to find this information. I'm thinking the older generation might need something like this, the direction card, and you'll know who's coming to your wedding, so you'll know if you'll need this or not. And you might even have those at the wedding to hand out to people. If your reception is right there, no need. But if your reception is out in the middle of nowhere, use your best judgment on that.
Okay, next is the RSVP or response card. The number one advice for this is make sure you put a stamp on the return envelope for the RSVP card. Most people will not mail it back if there's not a stamp on that card, on that envelope. Right.
I think you've put money into it and they see that, and then it makes them feel like they really do need to send that.
Right.
It just prompts them to do that.
So make sure you include how many guests they're bringing, like if it's one plus a guest or something like that. Menu choices, if you didn't include that on the reception card. If there is special dietary needs, you need to have a space for that so they can fill that out as well.
Now, the accommodation card. This is a card for your out-of-town guests that need hotel rooms. You can reserve a block of rooms, and you guys know how to do that, right? It's really easy. You call and talk to them about that. Call the hotel of your choice in your area. And make sure you put a deadline, though, and let your guests know that they need to call by this time to reserve a room, or the block is let loose to other people.
Right. So next is to hold all of this in, you need the inner envelope. So there's the inner envelope and the outer envelope. The inner envelope has the name of each guest invited on it. Only the names that are listed on this card, this is very important. Only the names that are listed on this card are the ones invited to the wedding. So make the names clearly visible when open. It can say Sally Jane Johnson and guest, because you may not know who she's bringing. Or it can say Sally Jane Johnson and John Johnson. You just have to make sure that whoever's invited is on this card, and it's only those who are invited. Mm-hmm. It can say the Johnson family, which means that the whole Johnson family is included in that.
That's right. If you put Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, that would indicate just Mr. and Mrs.
Right.
But if you say Mr. and Mrs. Johnson and family, that would say your kids are invited too.
Right.
You got to be very careful with this, especially if you don't want children at your wedding. Make it clear.
Yes. So on the outer envelope, of course, is the name and address of the guest or guests. This is where you can put, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson without being like Mr. You can put on the inner envelope, John and Jane Johnson. But on the outer envelope, you need to put Mr. and Mrs. It has to be kind of formal. It is your wedding invitation. You need to make sure it is clearly legible and there is a stamp on it, plus your return address.
Yeah, just like a regular envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Legible, yeah. That's
especially for places like Seattle who have weird addresses.
Yes. Yes.
They're all numbers and directions, and if you put different places, it goes to the wrong spot. So.
Yeah. Northeast before the number and northeast after the number mean two different. Yeah. It can be confusing, especially when you don't know that city. So really make sure to get those addresses correct. Now, we've talked about wedding invitation terms when we had our wedding words series from ringtoveil.com/98. We'll go through all that, and it talks about the different types of embossing and things like that, what you can do with your invitation specifically. And then we had a chat with Ginger from Chalk Ink Style, and she told us all about invitations. And that's from ringtoveil.com/80. You can check that out for even more information on invitations. Invitations can be fun, but they can also be daunting.
Yes.
So
especially if you don't have that huge budget for this huge invitation suite. You don't know what to put on what or where to send it or whatever like that. And there's lots of places out there that have lots of information, and we hope we helped you a little bit. So
that's right. All right, can we talk to the girls for a minute? We need your ears just for a minute, guys. You could push that little fast forward button once or twice. We just need to talk to the girls. So most of us, if not all of us, have had a period or do have their periods. And, it's something that we just have to deal with.
Yeah. And especially on your wedding day, you don't really you don't want to deal with it, but sometimes you have to.
That's right. If you don't plan accordingly, and sometimes it's just like, hello. Anyway, you need the protection, and we've got a really awesome solution for you. It's called Lola. That's LOLA. I am just excited about this because it's organic cotton feminine care. You can customize it, and it's delivered straight to your door.
No more embarrassing visits to the drugstore or anything like that. It comes straight to your door.
The customized assortments is really awesome because they have tampons, pads, liners, supplements. They have some oils and even a first period kit.
It ships monthly or bi-monthly, and you can skip your order at any time, cancel online without penalties, and of course there's free standard shipping.
Now, the piece de resistance for me is the no toxins, fragrances, or synthetic fibers. That's just, sign me up. That's what I want. We have a special for you. If you go to trymylola.com/FromRingToVeil, you'll get $5 off your first month.
So go do it.
Go do it. Do it and let us know what you think. Give us a little review. I actually ordered myself and I'm still waiting for mine. It should be here very soon. I will update you when I get a chance to try them out.
Yeah. So don't forget, it's www.trymylola.com/FromRingToVeil.
Now on to listener stories. Listener stories? That's new, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What is listener stories, Shannon?
Stories. We have a new segment. If we don't have a listener question, we're going to put a wedding story out there for you to get a kick out of, to listen to somebody else's experience during what they, had during their wedding.
That's right.
Their wedding planning or their wedding day. So
if you have a story for us to share, send it to us. info@FromRingToVeil.com. We would love that.
Yes. So she sent this to us, and it's about her sister-in-law. So here it goes. My fiance's sister is getting married about 5 months before us, and I was asked to be in the bridal party. Here's a disclaimer. It said we did set our date and get engaged before her, but it's no big deal. Okay. We are all getting fitted for our bridesmaids' dresses, and she looks at all of us and says, jokingly, but not at the same time, none of you better be pregnant for my wedding.
A few months later, her and I were out to dinner together talking about my wedding and her wedding. She says to me, I'm probably going to be pregnant when I stand in your wedding. I told her I didn't care.
On the ride home, the comment she made popped into my head, and from a few months prior. A part of me does not care if she's pregnant in my wedding, but the other part of me is kind of hurt by her by saying we weren't allowed, but she could do whatever she wants.
She's not a person I would confront if I had a problem. I try to steer clear of any confrontation or disagreement. I came home and told my fiancé what she said that night, and he was upset.
He said he was going to call her and tell her the same thing she told us. I told him not to because I knew she would confront me and tell me that if I had a problem, I needed to talk to her about it instead of sending a message.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, what would you do in that case if you were her?
I mean, she has no right to tell people not to get pregnant. Sometimes it happens.
Life happens. That's right. So here's the thing. If this has happened to you, you're not the only one. But, she jokingly said, none of you better get pregnant.
But not really.
Yeah. I understand the want of not having a pregnant woman up there because whatever. But come on. If you love this person, you want them to be in your wedding, who cares if they're pregnant? Who cares what size they are? As long as they're not like falling down drunk or wreaking havoc, then it's all good.
Yeah. And, who cares?
Yeah. Who cares? If she gets pregnant at your wedding, who cares? Just let her. You know what's up. So thank you for sharing this little tidbit for us so that we could share it to our listeners and let everybody know these things happen to people all the time. And you're not the only one.
So subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify.
And until next time, no stress, no worries. Keep calm and listen on.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. You can find us on Facebook, From Ring to Veil, on Twitter, @From Ring to Veil, and on our website, FromRingToVeil.com.
Music provided by bensound.com.